going on, everybody? This is Sean of Raw Select Music. Today I want to talk about this album right here. This is Squarepusher's Hello Everything, released on Warp Records on October 2006. This is a really weird album for me. I was a huge diehard Squarepusher fan up until the release of this album, and while I do enjoy this album well enough, probably the first album where I started to feel my interest in Squarepusher's music starting to wane. And a lot of the issues that I had with his releases after this album all basically start from this album here. But nevertheless, I want to share my thoughts and opinions of this album a little bit more in detail and let you know whether or not I think it's worth checking out. So with that being said, let's talk about this guy. Now, Hello Everything was released at a really interesting point in Squarepusher's musical career. He was starting to get more mainstream attention, with Red Hot Chili Peppers bassist Flea calling him the best bass player in the world, and Andre 3000 of Outkast fame asking for him to collaborate. Check out this clip of Andre 3000 pleading to Squarepusher to work with him.
If anybody can contact, I know he probably around here in the studio banging away, but if anybody can find Squarepusher, please let him know I'm looking for him. I'd love to sit down and work with him. I would like him to take me under his wing and show me what he's doing with them computers over there, and we need to get together and do a project. Alright? In a minute.
Well, here's my Cilla Black moment. We've managed to track down Squarepusher, aka Tom Jenkinson, virtuoso bass player and electronica king. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thanks very much.
Fans in high places, Outkast. That's not too shabby, is it? Can we see a collaboration happening here, possibly?
Definitely sounds like a positive idea. The intentions certainly are there. It's just this, you imagine him having these concentric circles of entourage around him. But maybe that's wrong, because I've also heard he's quite a down-to-earth chap, so...
Yeah, I think he seemed like quite good fun in that piece. I mean, you know, I guess
sure.
he's inviting you in. He's inviting you to bypass all of the security guards and everything, go straight to the 3000.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know how I get on with that, yeah.
Fantastic. If we're the matchmaker, though, do let me know in advance, because I want to buy a new hat for the album launch.
Absolutely.
Highly recommend that you check out the rest of this BBC interview, because it gives you an even stronger sense of just how uncomfortable he was with all the success at that period in his career. But I'd also really recommend to get an even stronger sense of where he was coming from with this album, to go check out this extremely lengthy Accelerator magazine interview, if you can, about what his thought process was going into this album. In his own words, he described it as a no-holds-barred exposition of all things he had previously tried to do and trying to find alternatives to. He also said in the same interview that a quote from Brian Wilson off of one of the many different releases of Pet Sounds is the reason that he decided to focus more on melody rather than putting all of his energy into the electronic sounds or the drum breaks. But overall, the reception for this album was a bit more mixed this time around, earning it a 64 on Metacritic, with a lot of critics saying that it was just a bit too familiar from the usually more boundary-smashing artist. But where do I stand in all of this? I kinda side with the critics on this one. There are certain aspects that I really do like about this. I generally enjoy the much brighter, more playful tone on this record. There's a sense that he's sort of freeing himself of not only his critics' expectations, but also his own expectations. There is a real feeling that he's so much freer on this project than he's been on any of his other projects. And as such, it seems like he's more willing to play around with different sounds and different ideas on here, while still playing around with that foundational sound that makes Squarepusher's music Squarepusher's music. Hello Meow starts off the album great. It busts out the gate. It's super colorful, super bouncy, bass line, playful melody that's extremely catchy, is a great hook to get you interested in the album. Theme from Sprite continues his exploration into a more live music sort of sound, has him playing a little bit of classical guitar, and it has, once again, a great little catchy melody to it that makes it immediate standout on the album. Similarly, Bubble Life does a lot of playing around with both synths, electronics, live musicianship all coming together, and definitely under this much more optimistic sound that he's going for on this album. And one of the other great highlight moments on this album is the modern bass guitar, where he goes all in on that classic Squarepusher sound with the hyperspeed cut-up drum breaks, the extremely acidic bass line, and a weird but extremely effective tonal shift that you will not see coming in the latter half of this song. It's one of the more unpredictable tracks on here, and it definitely is a standout moment. But aside from the standout moments that I just talked about, a lot of this album just leaves me cold, conflicted, and quite honestly, a little bit confused. For one, there really seems to be a complete dip in sound engineering on this album. And it also started a trend of like a more almost garage home produced sound that would carry on through the next few albums after the release of this album, which maybe it was an aesthetic choice, but I don't like it at all. Everything just feels so flat. Despite the fact that there's a overall much brighter and positive feeling going on in this album, there just doesn't seem to be any of that warmth or life that a lot of his productions had before. On top of that, there doesn't really seem to be that much attention being paid to on the drum programming on here. The track Planetarium, which just has this really stale, boring amen cut up that goes absolutely nowhere. One of the things that really stood out to me the first time that I heard this album was it really just didn't seem like Squarepusher was trying that hard. And while you might say, well, it's just him, not taking his music that seriously anymore. Okay, but it just doesn't make his music any more interesting. And as a result, a lot of the songs on here are pleasant enough, but really just leave such little lasting impression that none of the tracks on here, aside from the highlights that I talked about originally, really do anything to make me want to go back and listen to them, especially when Squarepusher has just so much more interesting music in his own catalog. And then there's just two really baffling tracks on here. Vacuum Garden is easily the least interesting thing that he's ever put out, and it's sure tackling that sort of musical concrete sound that he's done before. There's nothing going on in this track, and it literally just bogs down the runtime for this entire album. Similarly, the last track on here, Orient Orange, is just this long, lifeless, uninteresting 10-minute track that tries to do something in its own climactic way, but ultimately doesn't come close to like the best moments of him trying out similar ideas on albums like Music Is Rotted One Note and Ultravisitor. And then even more baffling, two of the better tracks that were released in tandem with this album from a digital-only release called Welcome to Europe, which is a track on here that's just kind of ho-hum, are actually two of the better songs on the album and probably would have made this a better project in my mind if they were included. Excite On, I think that's how you say it, is this almost punk rocky metal kind of track that still has that grind, that sound that I'm not really a fan of, but is definitely one of the better drill and bass burners on here. And Henningfield Window has one of the better melodies of all the tracks on here, and doesn't really seem to suffer from the same sound engineering production issues that I have with the rest of this album. While I won't say that it's a bad album, it's just disappointing. Honestly, like I said, this album really led to my disinterest in Squarepusher's music. I was very disinterested in Squarepusher's music for such a long time. It honestly wasn't until the release of Be Up a Hello that I started getting interested in Squarepusher's music again. And thanks to the release of that album, it reignited my interest in some of Squarepusher's albums that I hadn't really listened to for a long time. And I'm really glad that I went back and listened to some of those old projects, because I really do enjoy them as much as I did when I first picked them up. But this one, it still sits as an okay project. It's not the worst thing that he's put out, but it's far from essential. And it's definitely an album that I would put in the buy this after you've bought everything else from Squarepusher Squarepusher. So while it pains me to say this, and I know there are a lot of people who like this album a lot more than I do, let's get to that tier list, and I'm going to stick this guy in the C tier. So yeah, this is not one of my favorite Squarepusher albums, but if you can find any solace in this video, I'll let you know this isn't even my least favorite Squarepusher project. That one's still coming up soon. But until then, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching. If you've listened to this album before, please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. If you want to hear this album for yourself, please head over to my WordPress blog, because that's where I'll post music links to any of the albums that I talk about on this channel. Make sure you're here on Sundays, Japan Standard Time, either 2 p.m. Japan Standard Time or 8 p.m. Japan Standard Time for Live from the Record Room, my weekly DJ live streams. And make sure you follow me on Twitter, because that's where you can not only check out all the different music that I am talking about through my WordPress blog, as well as to find out when I will be going live on this channel. Links to everything, as always, down in the description. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. So until then, peace out!